We are going. I look at Gary and he goes, he's going to check his phone to make sure that we are operating. All right, it looks like I'm live. That's good to know. And I am waiting to have some sort of indication that you guys can see and hear me out there. And so far, according to my thing, no one's there. Oh, good. Thank you so much. Okay, Michael, hello. Okay, so you can see and hear me, I assume. That is excellent. And so, Michael, you have won the special spiritual mind treatment. If you would like me to do that for you, just, you know how to get a hold of me and let me know. David, number 2, thank you. And you also win a special spiritual mind treatment. So let me know for what it is. And I got a thumbs up that you can see and hear me, so we're ready to go. We're all here. All right, I was a little flaky on my way getting here, so let's treat for alertness.
Unflakiness.
What was that?
Unflakiness.
The opposite of flakiness. Okay, so this word is being spoken for each one. All right, there is only God, and God is not a flake. Although the divine becomes the flake, and that flake that it becomes is perfect, whole, and complete. But in its infinite mind, it is with crystal clarity being that which it has created itself to be. And that which it is at every point of expression is clear, has its purpose, and has its ability to express all of the divinity that it is. This is the truth of each one. Each one is a creation of this infinite mind, and its crystal clarity is knowing its I am that I am in, through, and as each one, in human expression, but not limited by that expression. That I am that I am is infinite, eternal, and there is always infinite ways that this divine mind can express its I amness through each one as human expressing. There is no limit. Any belief in limit, any belief in limitation due to the form of humanness that one may have taken, any belief in limitation due to what one has or has not done with this expression of life, any belief that this life could be used up or that there's only so much of it, all belief that one needs extra energy, extra vitality, and all seeking of that energy, vitality, or clarity from the world, from caffeine, from anything in the relative world from which this divine vitality does not come, is all by this word erased, evaporated, and vanished. The divine vitality of being I am that I am is present. It is never lost, it is never overruled or overwhelmed, it is never confused, never present, not present. It is always fully present and fully expressing, and each one now is able to tune in to this divine vitality, to this I amness, and to connect with that unique expression that he or she is. And that this unique expression that each one is has infinite ways of expressing. And so each one is open to new ways of expressing the true nature of oneself. And any belief that one cannot express oneself because of any other person, place, or thing, situation, world situation, resources, money situation, age, beliefs in the human race, what the government is doing, what the world is doing, what any particular physical matter is doing, any and all belief in any acceptance of a limitation coming from that which the divine is creating in this relative world is all by this word erased in the realization that each one is not that which has been created. Each one is made in that image and likeness of the divine creator. And so each one is that which is knowing that which is getting created. And each one is secondary in expressing this divine I amness, that the first cause of I am that I am is delegated to each one as being the first cause in that relative world that each one is. That divinity that is within is always expressing through each one. And in the awareness of this, each one is now connected to that which is infinite, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, that which is the vitalizing force, that which is all of the energy that created at that Big Bang moment, all of the energy that created each one at that moment of birth. All of that energy is now creating each one in expression, and each one is aware of it, identifying with it, connected with it, and each one is embodying it and discovering that the energy and the vitality as well as the clarity and the wisdom, all of it is present within each one, and that each one is completely and totally 100% free of all limitations of the relative world, all of those beliefs that the human race has, all of the beliefs that body, form, function, situation, circumstance can limit, restrict, or retard the free expression of spirit. It is all erased, vanished, gone. Each one is released of the heaviness of the world's opinions. Each one is released of having to consider what everybody else is thinking or doing. Each one is released from all fear of bad things happening and the need to watch out what's going on in the world just in case. Each one is released from the belief and the need to prepare for the worst case scenario. Each one is released from even believing in a worst case scenario, because in the I am that I am, there is only the all good that is unmixed with evil of any kind, the all good which is only knowing itself and expressing itself from good to greater good in ways and means of harmony and goodness. And so there is no room and there is no force that is anything other than that one loving presence seeking to create itself more and more. That which is 100% only concentrating on that which is being created has no thought of that which is to be destroyed or let go or gone. And each one is letting go of all those needs to let go. Each one is uniting with the I am creative presence, and as such is fully engaged with that business of contemplating that which shall be out of the infinite potential that is. And from this consciousness, each one is, therefore, moving from good to greater good in ways and means of goodness. Each one is healthier and wealthier and freer and living an easier life. Each one is filled with more joy and delight, and each one is experiencing that delight and sweetness of omnipresent love, of being loved, because that which is creating each one loves each one completely and unconditionally. And so all reasons, all habits, all programming for rejecting any aspect of that which is present divinely within each one is all vanished, gone, irrelevant, and dissipated, vanished back into the nothingness from whence it came, because all there is God, the all good. There is not a spot where God is not. This is the truth. I am grateful that this is the truth. This is the truth for each one, always, in every moment, in every aspect, in every situation. It is I am that I am, that I am that I am. This is the truth. And so I let this word of truth go to that divine law, knowing it knows this truth and is manifesting it individually for each one now. Good. And so it is.
So it is.
And that's the way it is. Reverend Rich, take us away.
Since we're talking about guilt. Oh, pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. But my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help me sing these songs of freedom? All I never had was redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop at the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? 'Cause some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? All I never had was redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? All I never had was redemption songs. All I never had was redemption songs. Bob Marley, for those who don't know. Here, your voice. I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, my heart is ready to receive.
And so let's take a moment and consider what we are opening ourselves to this day. And because we are here, with so many people of the very highest consciousness, all claiming and desiring to open to that highest truth, it makes it easier for each one of us to open to that highest truth within us. And so check in with your heart, realize that with God, or the highest truth, anything is possible, and open yourself to being healed, transformed, forgiven, blessed, changed. So let's see what we become as a result of being open to our greater good.
I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive.
Good morning.
Good morning.
One second, please. There's a smudge on my glasses and I can't see. I wonder if that means something.
You're getting clarity.
I can see. Oh, a microfiber cloth. A wonderful inspirational idea from someone, and now look where they go. They're everywhere. Thank you. So, welcome again. My name is Susan Niedt. I'm a practitioner here at the center. We are a loving, healing, inclusive community that teaches and practices the principles of the science of mind for the spiritual growth and well-being of ourselves and the world. And I have to say something. Thank you, Reverend Karen. That was such a treatment this morning. It was like everything that's been on my mind. She held the space. I feel freer. Anyway, that's one of the things that we have to offer here. We have wonderful practitioners that can do what Karen does, hold that space of truth, that place of knowing for you. You can make an appointment at any time, and I'll tell you something. I had an appointment with my practitioner this week who happens to be Karen, and it's such a blessing. And we have a recorded treatment if you need something at any time of day. And we have one in Spanish. Thank you, Reverend Damaris. And we have probably classes coming up. We're in the middle of foundations, but keep an eye out. You never know what's going to be in the future. And of course, we have our Sunday service, and that is an anchor in my week for sure. So speaking of my week, I was getting ready for the foundations class and for the one coming up, and a couple friends of mine, two dear, wonderful people, are going through a situation. And in our world of the relative, we would say it's kind of a creepy, ugly situation. And one of them, in telling the story of this situation to me, perseverated and repeated, this isn't good, and went on and on and on, and like a hamster wheel, right? And the other one did the same for a couple days. And then finally she said, enough is enough. A little bit like Emma Curtis Hopkins, this too is good, this too is God, this too is for me, and I demand to know the blessing in it. And she just stood firm, and wouldn't you know it, there was a release, she was open, and all these wonderful solutions and answers came into her world. And the reason it's interesting that this came up during this 8th week of Foundations is because the principal practice is wholeness and oneness. And so right at the top of the Foundations student curriculums, it said Emerson's quote, which I may misquote, something like, there is no good or bad, only your thinking makes it so. And it made me think of these two beautiful people in my life. And so I wanted to share with you one of the quotes from the Foundations curriculum. You'll get it early, guys, so lucky you. And it makes us stop and pause for a moment when we're on that hamster wheel. In many cases, the problem isn't the event itself that happens. It is, in fact, the way in which we respond to the event, the way we allow it to define our lives, and the way in which we make choices out of the experience. And I'm going to share with you the choices that these two friends of mine made were really vastly different. And it's interesting to see how the outcome revealed itself, one in a more loving, healing way. If we experience illness or loss or lack, We can become victims of it, which then makes it evil. Or we can declare that somehow good will come of it. And declaring that good must come of this, whether it's next week, next month, next year, because we set a new cause in motion. In that moment, that declaration becomes impressed into the law, and the law must find some way to make it so. So what do we welcome? The hamster wheel or unlimited possibility, unlimited potential? You know, it's a lesson that we've heard so many times here, and it's so easy to get caught in that hamster wheel. And it was a blessing to me that these two friends came to me for support, and it really helped me remember, because I have my own hamster wheels. I'm sure we all do. So one of the things that was said at the end is a little affirmation, which I'd like to read in the first person. All that good is available here and now, and I am willing to think the thoughts I need to think. I am willing to say the words I need to say. I am willing to take the actions I need to take. I am willing to release the thoughts, words, and confusion that block the omnipresent good. And so it is. Have a great day.
My body, my soul are part of a perfect whole. My heart and my hand are serving a sacred plan. I know that it's true when all that I am comes down to you. I know that it's true. I know that I can rely on you. All that I am, all that I am, all that I am, God, I give to you. All that I am, all that I am, all that I am, God, I give to you. My thoughts and mine belong to eternal time. My words and my song, you're writing them all along. I know that it's true, and all that I am comes down to you. I know that it's true, I know that I can rely on you. All that I am, all that I am, all that I am, God, I give to you. All that I am, all that I am, all that I am, God, I give to you. What happens?
Good morning. I'm Jon Heron. I'm a practitioner here at CSL Princeton. So, no accidents. I want to do a little meditation today together. Let's do a meditation. And it comes right off of what Susan said and right off what Reverend Rich just sang. So, this is the time where you can just put your feet flat on the floor or whatever makes you feel totally comfortable, connected with a deeper place inside. And just a suggestion, you might want to do this meditation, not just listening to it with your ears and not just listening to it with your mind, but listen to it with your heart, whatever that means to you. It's a section from the World Healing Meditation by John Randolph Price. I begin with me. I am a living soul, and the Spirit of God dwells in me as me. I and the Father are one, and all that the Father has is mine. In truth, I am the Christ of God. What is true of me is true of everyone, for God is all, and all is God. I see only the Spirit of God in every soul, and to every person on earth I say, I love you, for you are me. You are my holy self. I now open my heart and let the pure essence of unconditional love pour out. I see it as a golden light radiating from the center of my being. And I feel its divine vibration in and through me, above and below me. I am one with the light. I am filled with the light. I am illumined by the light. I am the light of the world. With purpose of mind, I send forth the light. I let the radiance go before me to join the other lights. I know this is happening all over the world at this moment. I see the merging lights. There is now one light. We are the light of the world. And so I'll now do a spiritual mind treatment. Knowing that this one light is what is present, and knowing that each one is that one light. This word is for all those who are participating in this service, physically here, virtually here, those who will listen, and anyone who wishes that they were listening. This one light is the presence. It is what the world is. It is what vibrates and appears as each one. And since that's true, each one is the fullness of that light. And whatever is true of that light is true of each one. And therefore, I know now that this light is fully present and experienced in the life of each one. It is experienced physically as perfect health. It is experienced mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because it is what is, and therefore it is what each one is. And so as each one lives their life, each one knows that they are that one divine vibration, that one divine truth. And each one looks out at their world and sees this one as the presence. And as each one goes through life, one is illumined. Each one knows the presence of the light. And with each activity, with each moment, with each relationship, one knows the light. The light is presence. It is what is present. It is what is experienced and known. With great gratitude for this truth, I release this to the law. It is done. And so it is.
They say everything can be replaced, yet every distance is not near. So I remember every face of everyone put here. I see my light come shining from the western to the east. Any day now, I shall be released. They say everyone needs protection. They say everyone must fall. Yet I swear I see my reflection someplace so high above this wall. I see my light come shining from the western to the east. Any day now, I shall be released. Now standing here in this lonely crowd is a man who swears he's not to blame. All day long I hear him shout so loud, crying out that he was framed. I see my light come shining from the western to the east. Any day now, I shall be released.
Any day now. And today's the day. Okie dokie. So, phenomenal practitioner work there, Jon. And it's actually the solution to all the negative stuff that I bring up in this talk. So listen to my talk and then scroll back and re-listen to what Jon said, because there's the solution. We're talking about guilt, and I'm still using this bunch of essays by Jack Holland. They were published in 1995, so relative contemporary with us. And divine wisdom somehow dropped this into my hands. I don't know where it came from, and I don't know why I chose to open it, except for, whoa. So he gave an essay, he wrote an essay called "You Are Not the Guilty Party." And he wrote this before Brene Brown got real clear about guilt and the difference between guilt and shame. So when he's talking about guilt, I think he's including the concept of shame. Brene Brown said that guilt is over something that we did, but shame is felt when it's somehow a way that we have identified ourselves. So I did something bad would make us feel guilty. I am bad brings that emotion of shame. But whatever it is, we don't want it. Right? How would you like that? Now, I was raised in a particular religion, a religious philosophy that believed in guilt and shame, and that you could never get rid of it. They did have a nice little ritual called confession, which apparently you could go to, and I think for a nanosecond after it, you were okay. But, as soon as you left, you were compounding sin, so you better go again. And it also had a very interesting ritual in its Sunday service, Mass. I was raised Catholic, that my mother said to me. She became a member of our community and said, it always bothered me at the height of the ceremony of that ritual, before we were about to receive the body of Christ into our own body. We had to say, Lord, I am not worthy to receive you, but only say the word and I shall be healed. And my mother said, where was the word? Did it ever get said? Did the word get said? Well, science of mind gives us the word, right? We get to say the word and we shall be healed. And so that's what we need to realize about this, is that we may have identifications, beliefs about ourselves. I am bad, I am no good, who knows where it came from. It's part of the human race. We may have just inherited it, or we may have heard a whole stream of labeling that way, or you may have been like me. It was sort of like the opposite reinforcement of the idea that I am bad, which is you've got to be perfect. I remember when I read a book, I think it was The 1 Minute Manager, who said that what you want to do with the people around you is catch them when they're doing something right and praise it. And I was brought up with that whole frame of mind, what are you doing wrong? And let's fix it. And some of us come into self-help or even into this teaching, right? And with unconsciously or maybe consciously with that thought, well, I got to fix myself so that I end up being perfect. So now I'm going to use this spiritual philosophy to make myself perfect. So I'm loved, so I can get into heaven, so I can just have peace of mind. How many of us would just like some peace of mind? And we cannot have, and we do not have peace of mind when we believe we are guilty. He says something very interesting. Now, this was 1995. He's talking about the human race, all of society. And he says, we keep trying to solve our guilt problems through attacking all forms of discipline, especially self-discipline, through an emphasis on the negative work and activities done by some groups, and through attacking, as though in the name of truth, everything that is believed to be out of order in the world. Have we seen any of that lately? This is bad, that's bad, da-da-da-da-da. And what he says is this tremendous, massive, collective, and personal guilt feeling is rampant in our society today. And so one of the things that we can realize about ourselves when we are wanting to attack or accuse someone else or a group of wrongdoing, you're doing something bad, we want to realize that within us is an element of feeling guilty ourselves. And so it gets projected out. And the reason why we do it is, how do you get rid of feeling guilty? And so there are those guilt feelings that are appropriate when we've done something wrong. What is that's something wrong? It's something that goes against our own inner guidance. And I am sure, because Jack said so, that every one of us has made a mistake. Every one of us, probably with crystal clarity, knew what was for us to do, and we didn't do it. At least once, because you do it once, you're like, never doing it again. Years ago, when I was in elementary school, we toured a newsroom. And back then, the weather map was a physical thing. And they had little magnets on it saying snow, rain, whatever. And apparently, the weather person would take one of those and stick it over a part of the country. And my memory is I stole rain. How do you live with that? I mean, you can't make amends because, again, I was too young to go back there. I don't even know where I went and return it. And I knew I was smart enough not to tell anyone I did this because I was raised in a world where condemnation and punishment was expected, and it was considered to be a good thing. And believe me, the guilt that I felt was worse. I was condemning myself than any kind of punishment that would have been given. And so until I became a minister here and talked about that particular situation, that experience I had, the last time that I spoke about it, I still felt guilty about taking rain. And I've done some forgiveness work since then, and so I can share that story right now and not feel guilty. So it's possible. There were other stories that I thought about sharing with you, but I still feel guilty about them, so I'm not sharing them. But I still can do that spiritual work so that I'm free of them. And so what we want to realize is that condemnation is an element of guilt. It is somehow saying, you cannot have good because either what you did or who you are. And we know with spiritual truth, it's a total lie. As Jack Holland tells us, God never condemns. We need to realize that. That's why the solution and the freedom of guilt and shame is realizing the divine does not condemn us. The divine unconditionally loves us. And the divine is bigger than Santa Claus and better than Santa Claus, right? Santa Claus, he knows what you've been doing and he's keeping a list, right? And you might get coal or you might get toys, depending upon how you stack up. God is not a giant Santa Claus, but that divine creator knows us and loves us and forgives us. It does not hold anything against us. The divine does not withhold its love or its good from us. And the thing that is a little bizarre to contemplate is the divine cannot withhold its love from us. It doesn't have that choice. I am that I am. That's what it does. And it loves that which it is. And it has created us out of that activity of knowing I am that I am. And that pure love is creating us out of its own self. It's not going to create something that it gets mad at. It loves us. Always. No matter what we do, no matter what we believe about ourselves. And so it is turning to that divine that sets us free from this belief in guilt. He says that there's two elements present in guilt. That we must live under the penalty of condemnation, and We cannot overcome what we have done. Both of them are lies. But I know I have lived with these beliefs. And what he points out to us is when we are living with this belief as being guilty, being wrong as possible, it tends to perpetuate an inner activity that continues to create for us experiences as well as feelings and thoughts of being guilty. Have you ever gone into a store and become very aware that they've got security cameras and a security person standing there watching you? I immediately feel guilty. I feel like I want to go through the whole store like this. No, I'm not going to take anything. I'm not going to take anything. My hands are behind my back, just so you're all clear. I don't want to be falsely accused, whatever. Okay. So if that happens to you, it certainly happens to me, then it's a clue that that guilt belief is operating in you. Because it's part of the human race. And what he says, in order to overcome guilt, he says, we find our freedom from guilt when we quit condemning others. So all of our do-gooders in the world, and I don't care what side you're on, you think you're the do-gooder because you're believing the other is a do-badder. And so you want to fix them and you want to change them. And what he points out is it's not going to set you free of those feelings and beliefs and guilt. You're going to still carry it with you because it's part of your human identity. So we want to get clear because we don't want to assume or believe as an excuse or a problem with not feeling guilty that, well, if you don't feel guilty, then you'll do bad things, right? And what he points out to us is we don't have to really worry about that. Do you need to feel guilt in order to avoid doing bad things? Or let me put it this way, the definition of bad things is anything that your higher self is telling you, don't do it. And so it could be as simple as taking a different route than what you are being guided to do. And as simple as that, I was divinely guided to go left, but I forced myself to go right, and as a result, I was in this big traffic buildup, and I spent 20 extra minutes, blah, blah, blah. The divine does not condemn us for that. And so what we want to be careful is that we don't use that kind of experience to make ourselves feel bad. However, he says we want to learn from it. And what do we want to learn? We want to learn how to listen to our higher self better. Because it makes for an easy and free and better way. Not because we're better divine beings, not because we're then a good person. Goodness is the substance that we are. We can't change that. That's it. Goodness, forget it. That's it. You're just good. Get over it. But that labeling of ourselves and that rejection of the goodness that we are does not have to be present as an inner experience for us to follow our inner guidance. And so when I do not follow my inner guidance, I experience the consequences. Either confusion, maybe a big mess, maybe an maybe something that does hurt or offend other people, maybe something that does cause me to feel guilty in myself. And what Jack Collin tells us is that there's a goodness in that feeling of guilt. because it's showing us that we have a higher call present within us. We might not have followed it, but it's there. So that experience of guilt actually, in the moment, could be a healthy, positive thing when we realize, oh, I was called to make a different choice. Maybe a different choice than I ever made before in my life. Maybe a different choice than what my whole family and my ancestors have done. I was called to make a different choice. I didn't follow it, but that call was there. And so what we see is our potential. The potential was trying to express in a greater way through us in saying, don't do that. But the thing is that potential didn't go away just because we did it. It's there, and it's available to us the next time we have that option. I remember when I was being raised in the social community I was in, being raised, identifying with my family as Polish, there was such a thing as Polish jokes. And my relatives were the biggest expressors of Polish jokes. And I would laugh, and we would all laugh. And it was really more my grandparents who were brought into this country, immigrants into this country. And when they first came into this country, early 1900s, it was kind of the thing. There were different ethnic groups, and so they labeled each other and they made jokes of each other. And that, according to my grandfathers, was how they got along. You know, the Irish person made a joke about the Polish person had a better joke about the Irish person, and back and forth they went, but somehow there was a camaraderie there that allowed them to work together, according to them. So I was raised in that and laughed along with them because I loved my family, I loved my parents, and I loved a good laugh, I loved a joke. And then I read this article, probably like in the New Yorker, you know, some magazine that my personal family would never have in the house. Had gone to college and read this article, and this person said how telling a joke against your own ethnicity, nationality, whatever that is actually doing harm to your own self. And that, I don't know all else what he said, but for some reason, I really got that. And so the next wedding I was at, sitting at the table with my Uncle Bill, he told a really great Polish joke. And everybody laughed. And I thought, I can't laugh. And I expressed this other idea. I read this article that telling jokes against yourself harms you, puts yourself down, and perpetuates it. Well, that was a downer. And then I felt bad. I felt bad because I ruined the fun. But it was, I don't know what it did to all them. I mean, they, you know, Karen, college, don't let our kids go. I don't know what they all concluded, or maybe they needed to hear that too. I don't know. I really don't know what happened with all them, but I know they didn't hang around with me much after that. Certainly not that night. But the thing is that I did get set free. And I did take that stand, and I stopped telling the Polish jokes, and I stopped laughing at any ethnic joke about anybody because, and I wasn't crystal clear about it, all I knew was there was a better something calling to me, a better way to behave, and I wanted to be a part of it. And that's what we need to realize, is that there is always something within us which is always calling us to a higher consciousness, to a new way of being. And so we don't regret or try to avoid those times when we choose not to follow it, because that would be perpetuating the guilt cycle. What we want to do is go, oh man, I feel guilty. That's a good thing, because that means that I am being called to expressing myself in a higher way. Now, what is that about? Let me go there and explore that. It might require courage. It might require a whole lot of wisdom in how we make that choice, like which I probably didn't experience in that particular wedding moment. But whether we do it with wisdom, with love, and with kindness or not, something's calling us. You are not the guilty party. It's the definition of our you, the I am, that he's talking about. I am all that Jon said in that meditation and spiritual mind treatment. I am the light. I am the divine loving presence, being called to express in a greater way. And with hearing the call, which I didn't hear before, I realize that what I did, I need to let go. I need to learn from it. I need to examine it and become aware of a similar situation in the future, because it will be there. And in that greater awareness of the old way and the way it's operating in me, and the awareness of this something calling me to something greater, may I be able to make the better choice. And that's what we do when we grow. May I be able to make the better choice for me. And the thing is, as we practice this, we become more and more compassionate for others who are still living besotted with guilt and projecting that out everywhere as condemnation. And you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you're bad, you can't do this, All those who are taking what they believe to be the higher moral ground by accusing others of being not that higher moral ground, right? And to see the pain that they are in, to be doing that. And yeah, right? When we're blaming other people and accusing other people, we're right, we're justified. We've got our story, we've got our ammunition. But if you go below all that, you'll see that what sparked it all off was a feeling of guilt within you. As I've grown more and more aware of myself over the years, I notice every once in a while I get really cranky about what other people aren't doing right. And through this greater self-awareness, I've learned whenever I become aware that whatever, these other people aren't doing everything right, go within and ask the question, Karen, where is it that you believe you are not doing something right? Which is really, Karen, where are you not following your inner guidance? I mean, given that our inner guidance is always present and guiding us every moment of the day, why, you could be spending, 95% of your day not following inner guidance. And if what inner guidance does when we don't follow it is give us that little tug, hello, you're not following me. And when that inner guidance, that higher self that's giving us that guidance, is trying to get a point across, a new idea across to us, that higher call of who we are, we'll feel guilt. So isn't that wonderful? Like jealousy. It's not bad to feel that way. When, for those of you who haven't been around when I spoke about jealousy, which was probably years ago, but who knows what jealousy really is? Anybody in the room? Remind us, they're all saying. Okay.
What
So,
it feels like.
Yeah, you can't miss jealousy. Okay, so when you're feeling jealous of someone else, what you are feeling is the pain of having rejected your own greater good and projecting it on someone else. So in other words, if you're jealous of someone else, like I was jealous of Reverend Wade Atkinson when I found out he was going to be, the replacement for my teacher, Dr. Stuart Grayson, I was jealous. And I was like, no, wait a minute. That's my divine call for something good. And so what is that? Well, you don't want to be in New York City taking Dr. Stuart Grayson's place. That's not for you. You don't want that. You don't like him that much. But you do want to be a minister. So I began treating for my equivalent of the good that I'm seeing being given to him. And boy, did I get it. Right? Us. Oh, it's so much better for me. And so the thing is, so jealousy is that call, that divine guidance saying, you rejected your good. I had good coming to you, and you came up with your reason. Oh, no, I can't have it. And why? Because I'm afraid. And that jealousy was, I want what he has because it looked easier. Like I don't have to look for a ministerial position somewhere. I don't have to go outside of my little spiritual community. I could just rise up in that spiritual community and take over there, and I'll be happy forever in my nice little cocoon of spiritual consciousness that I grew up in. Yeah, I wanted all of that, but was I being guided to all that? No. But I'm afraid, and believe me, the thing about jealousy and guilt, it's not well thought out. You just feel the feeling. And then you need to think it out, because the subjective mind with all those beliefs has it all worked out. But we're not consciously aware of it. All we know is I feel jealous, I feel guilty. Well, what's that about? Because, as Susan said, right? Was it Susan? This too is good. This too is God. This too is for me, and I demand to see the blessing in it. And so what we want to do is feel the blessing, discover the blessing in guilt. I feel guilty. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. I'm the all goodness of the divine. But the goodness that I am has been calling me to express this goodness in a freer, happier, more wonderful way. And I was stuck in my habits. I was stuck in what I thought my environment, my friends, my family, whatever, what they all wanted. I was stuck in that. Because the other thing about being called to follow that higher self is, for me, it requires courage. And sometimes I don't have it. Sometimes I remember my first ministerial business meeting with our international organization, my first meeting there. And I was sitting there, I was listening to everybody talk, and, I was a newbie, so I didn't want to say anything. All these esteemed, powerful ministers all around me, and they've all been ministers for decades longer than me. Some of them knew earnest homes, and they were in charge, and whatever. They all were, knew what they were doing, and I was brand new, and I just wanted to, not be thrown out. And at one point, somebody was saying something, and it was a Q&A, so you could raise your hand, and I heard my higher self say, you must say something. And I didn't want to. And so I tried negotiating with that higher self. Please! I don't wanna. I can't. I'm gonna be all red in the face. I'm gonna be shaking. I'm gonna be embarrassed. I don't know how to say it well. They're gonna yell at me. I'm gonna hate them. They're gonna hate me. Please have someone else say it. Please, someone else in the room say it. And they said, any other questions? Anything anybody to say? Raise your hand. And I'm like, please, God, no, don't raise my hand. I'm raising my hand and I'm like, damn it, I know they're going to call on me. Because up until that point, right, I used to be a person whenever I raised my hand, right, they ignored me. You know, you'd raise your hand, never pick me. I knew they were going to pick me, and oh man, they did. And I'm like, lots of expletives in my inner self. So I got up, I had my say, stunned silence in the room. I sat down. I'm like, all right, I did it. I hope you're happy. And then I left and went to the Epcot Center for the rest of the day. And, you know, I don't want to be around them. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. Whatever. And oddly enough, I ran into Dr. Stuart Grayson there. And Dr. Stuart Grayson and I spent the afternoon riding on all the rides in Epcot Center. What's that about? It's about your higher self. So our lesson here is this. Our higher self is always calling us to the greater, to the more. It's always more than we've known. It's always going to require some thinking on our part, some conscious awareness. And a lot of the time, I hope not all the time, but a lot of the time, it's going to require some oomph, some courage to make that choice. And some of the time, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make that choice. Because you're not stupid. You know you're going to be uncomfortable if you do that, and you're comfortable with the same. And so you're going to feel guilty. And now what we know is this. Since that's our activity, that's the way it is, I feel guilty. That's a good thing. Because it's something greater than I believe I am, calling me forward. And this is just my first step of awareness to that. But now that I am aware, I allow that grace to descend. I allow myself to be forgiven for having made that other choice. Because I've learned all the good that there was from that experience. I've learned that there's a better way for me. And now, heaven and earth, please, kindly, gently, lovingly support me to make a different choice the next time. And we're done. Right? And as soon as you do that, you no longer feel like attacking and condemning other people. Because you just had this compassionate experience of forgiveness and love for yourself. And all of a sudden, you can know that others can do that too. And that what they're squawking about isn't really what's bothering them. So, having said all that, are you ready?
We've settled that.
We've settled it. Let's move forward, and I'll do a spiritual mind treatment after Reverend Rich lets us contemplate this with a song.
We thank you in advance for the goodness that we share. It's our faith that lets us know the truth of the statement. We thank you from the place of perfect expectation, for with our right thought, our needs are fulfilled. In the giving is the gift, for the giver and receiver, and tithing is the key that lets our blessings flow. We recognize the source of our bounty and abundance. We release these words of praise into the Lord. And so it is.
And so it is. All right, so with all of that, let me just say, read something here, last from good old Jack Holland. We are going to have to reclaim our true nature, our spiritual nature, or we shall be increasingly caught up in concepts of guilt. We shall have to renounce or rename our dependency on the physical, material aspects of ourselves and our world to be free of the guilt that is now creating such havoc in us individually and in society collectively. We shall have to reclaim or salvage our birthright as a unique divine expression of God, or we shall continue to live in the mire of all of the limitations imposed through the belief in guilt. So let's claim that now. This word is being spoken for each one divine I am presence, the cause, the creator of all. Knowing I am that I am, its very substance of goodness takes form and is now taking form in, through, and as each one. Each one is made of the substance of the all good, pure, wholesome, loving goodness through and through. There's nothing wrong with anybody, nothing bad in the goodness of that divine substance, and nothing anyone has ever said, done, felt, or anything else can change the nature of that divine substance of goodness. And this being the truth, each one is now realizing in a greater way, a greater self-awareness of how this goodness is operating in them. Together with that divine guidance of the higher self, each one is seeing that greater good is always calling each one. That goodness that each one is always calling each one to take a new form of greater freedom, greater expression of love and life and happiness and joy, a greater freedom with a greater peace of mind about oneself. And with this greater awareness and this call for greater, each one is also accepting a greater peace of mind, knowing that the goodness that each one is forever settled, is never to be questioned again, that each one is good, and goodness is operating in, through, and as them. And so each one now just has choices as to how to express that goodness. And no matter what has ever been chosen, that higher self is always giving each one a new option that's beyond all the choices made in the past. And this is good. And each one is really aware that guilt and jealousy are merely an awareness of that greater call to good. So it's good to feel it, just as it's good to feel the heat of a hot stove, to take one's hand off of it. Each one is feeling the heat of the guilt and the jealousy, to stop it and to accept the higher way, because it's there, it's tangible, it's real. It is on the threshold of each one's creation. It is calling each one forward, and the ways and the means and the support and the motivation and the environment, everything that is needed for each one to say yes to this greater expression of themselves is there. All the support and love of the universe is there, and each one accepts it and has the clarity to know what is being guided, and has the support to select the newer idea, and has the faith and the confidence that one is safe to take that step. And oh my gosh, that divine courage is just enough for each one to be that greater expression of the goodness of life that he or she is. This is the truth. And each one is accepting that for themselves. And so the whole situation is done. Each one is forever changed in their relationship of that which the world has known and called guilt. Each one is free of being limited by it, and is now being the powerful creator and chooser of the expression of this goodness of life that he or she truly is. I am grateful this is so. I let it go to the law. Law's already done it. Good. And so it is. That's the way it is. Take us away.
Amen. 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 Amen.
us up by changing that song a little bit? Yeah. All right. So we're already changed. Okay. So hello, everybody. Kathy, good to see you. Tina, thank you so much. Craig, Raul, good. I haven't seen you for a while. Robert, Angela, and Marilyn. Okay, I think I got everybody. I'm so grateful that you all came. Hope to see you next week. Whew, with greater freedom and peace of mind and soul, right? Okay. Have a good week. Bye-bye.